This is Dave, and I'm here with Ethan, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000 Inch Weird Al Podcast, episode 42 Inch.
On this week's episode, we interview Will Anderson, who was not only the composer for My Little Pony, he also has recorded and toured with Weird Al, plus was the music producer for The Weird Al Show.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000 Inch Weird Al Podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000 Inch Weird Al Podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000 Inch Weird Al Podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000 Inch Weird Al Podcast.
Hey Dave, so where are you? You're not here at our luxurious 27-star recording studio, in your usual solid gold throne?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I told you. I'm in Las Vegas right now. I'm sitting out, enjoying the beautiful, sunny, warm weather, and drinking Yankaritas by the pool.
Bravo, Dave! That is pure dedication. Even on vacation, you're taking time out of your sweet, sweet relaxation to record the best Weird Al podcast in the world for all of our wonderful listeners.
Well, it is in our contract. I'm legally not allowed to take a break from recording podcasts until we finish recording episode 2000 Inch. So after this one, we still have another 1,958 episodes to go.
So due to this long-term contract you had to sign, we'll be making these podcasts till the end of time? Why did we even agree to sign these ridiculous contracts anyway?
I was promised free ice cream if I signed.
Good point. Hey, I was promised free burrito.
This week's episode brought to you in part by vegan Mexican restaurant Burrito in Troy, New York, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla burrito. Come on down to Burrito and Burrito your burrito. Find them at burritosquared.com and at Burrito Squared on Instagram. And remember, not every burrito is a burrito, but every burrito can be burritoed.
Anyway, speaking of Vegas, Dave, you seem to go to Las Vegas quite a bit. Have you seen Al perform there?
I have seen Al perform in Las Vegas 7 different times.
Whoa!
The first time I saw him was actually on the Alpocalypse tour in 2011, and that was actually at the Cannery Casino. And I have a funny story about that one is I remember buying the tickets online, and for the longest time, I could not figure out where I was sitting. So when I went to the box office, I'm like, I know I have tickets somewhere reserved. Can you tell me where I'm sitting? And they hand me the tickets and they go, oh, you're front row, right in the center. I was like, oh, perfect. So I didn't know I was sitting front row until I actually got there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was actually a really cool concert, a cool venue. But what was one really interesting thing is, and I know you'll love this as a collector, is we went to have dinner right before the concert in this little, I guess it was a food court. I don't remember what it was, but they actually had paper placemats, and Al was advertised on the paper placemat.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was really cool. I've never seen a paper placemat, with an advertisement for a Weird Al concert on it before. Oh. So, of course, I picked up a few of them for the collection.
I hope that you got an extra for me, Dave.
I do. Next time you come over and I serve you burritos, I will serve them on a Weird Al placemat.
Excellent. All right, so that was the first time you saw Al. What about the next time you saw Al? You've seen him 7 times in Vegas.
Yeah, the next time I saw Al was also on the Apocalypse tour, but this was in 2013. That was a long tour.
It was a long tour. It might still be going on.
Yeah, that one was actually interesting because that was in July and it was so hot there. I was sweating like crazy. It was amazingly hot there. I did go out see him again. Actually, I saw him 5 days in a row on the Mandatory World Tour in 2015. The first 5 shows of the Mandatory World Tour. Oh, that was so much fun. I was at Planet Hollywood. Oh, that was incredible.
So you saw Al all 5 shows in a row at Planet Hollywood on the Mandatory World Tour? Is that our world record? 5 shows in the same venue? 5 days in a row?
I think it is. And maybe he might have done some in the really early tours, when he was first starting out. But certainly this is the first time in that I can think of that he had a residency at one venue repeatedly over again. It was really cool. I really think he could do well with a Las Vegas residency. I think he'd really do well there.
That would be really cool. I feel like you and I would have to move to Vegas if that happened, though.
Yeah, it would be a problem. I would like it a little bit closer to home, like maybe a New York City residency. But yeah, certainly Las Vegas would be a great place for him to do something like that.
Maybe he could do a residency at Burrito, so it's close to me.
That would be great because then we could have vegan Mexican food on Weird Al placemats and go and see Weird Al concert every night. I would love that.
That would be so cool. All right, so the Planet Hollywood, 5 shows in a row, and those were the first 5 shows of that tour.
Yeah, that was really cool because he was obviously, like you get to see the Mandatory World Tour like for the first time. I love going to the first show of any, tour because it's just so much fun to be there. But to be there in Las Vegas, a city I love, and then to just be at like 5 shows in a row, and it was great. I mean, I had so much fun there. That was actually the first time that I met, if you remember, Jerry Tomlin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, he would dress up. If you've ever seen, like, if you ever went to the Mandatory World Tour and you saw this guy dressed up like the cover of the Mandatory Fun album, that was Jerry.
You couldn't miss him. You could not miss him.
No. So I just remember that, like, Jackie and I think we were going up the escalator and Jerry was coming down the escalator and we kind of passed each other and like we just like see this guy dressed up as Mandatory Fun Al and we kind of looked at him and was like, how do I not know this guy? And I look at Jackie and she looks back at me. She's like, we need to meet him. And we did. And he was a great guy. And he actually dressed up also as the guy from the Foil video, one of the concerts too. And he had this great, gigantic, huge foil hat. Oh, it was so cool to get to see Jerry do his cosplay. But what was also interesting is that I didn't know this was going to happen until I got there. But when I got there, I ran into Bermuda and he's like, oh, I'll give you backstage passes for the last show, for the Saturday show, the May 16th show. I'm like, okay, cool. Because you're never going to turn down backstage passes, right? So Jackie and I are like, get back there. And we look and there's me and Jackie in the room. And then there's Tom Lennon and his family and Andy Richter and his family.
Oh my gosh.
And that's it. And we're like, Jackie and I look at each other like, I think we are in the wrong place. But no, we had the passes. And it was also, it was really cool to get to like be backstage with like 2 celebrities like that. It was really cool.
Well, and that was the night that Tom Lennon came out for Yoda.
Yeah, that was. Tom Lennon did come out and actually perform on stage that night, which was a nice surprise as well. It was really cool to kind of be back there and see him. That was also the first night that I met JW.
That is the first night I met JW too. Tell me your story.
Okay, so this is kind of funny. So I'm backstage, I'm talking with Bermuda, and JW is handling Al, and this is like the first time, he's been handling Al. So he's a little nervous. He's trying to make sure Al's doing the right thing. So he comes back, he introduces him, of course, Andy Richter and Tom Lennon go first because, they're Andy Richter and Tom Lennon. And then, he comes over to me and I'm talking with Bermuda and Jackie and Bermuda goes, oh, by the way, this is Dave Rossi and Jackie Rossi. He goes, oh, and Dave has Weird Al tattoos. She goes, oh, cool. And meanwhile, Jackie had handed JW her camera to take a picture of, me and Al and Bermuda and Jackie together. Mm-hmm. And JW was taking the picture. So he goes, oh, cool. So he goes and takes pictures of my ankle on Jackie's camera. And Jackie's like, yeah, I've seen them already. It was really funny. So we have these pictures of my ankle from the concert. I'm like, I don't think JW realized what he was doing. I think he thought he had his own cell phone or something. But it was funny. And of course, I kid JW about that once in a while. But it was so great to finally get to meet JW on that tour because he is such an instrumental part to the whole entire Alex experience.
Well, but that was, as you said, the first time JW is part of the Weird Al experience was during the Mandatory World Tour in 2015. So what a great asset that we've gained as Weird Al fans, having JW still around.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Ethan, I think you were actually at one of those Planet Hollywood concerts too.
I was at that last one, the May 16th show. And, this was a couple years ago. This was before I was really flying out and going to Seattle for Weird Al shows, that kind of stuff. And I didn't have any plans to go to the Vegas show. And I'd never been to Vegas before. But then, I'm sure you and everyone listening can relate. you always sign up for any kind of Weird Al related newsletter possible. I'm signed up to the Weird Al newsletter on my like personal email. I'm signed up on my work email. Like no matter what, I'm getting Weird Al emails. I sign up for every single one. It's the complete opposite of like the spam ones from other companies. It's like I want anything and everything as soon as possible with Weird Al related. So, you know, I of course I'm signed up for the thing. When they announced the mandatory world tour, they had this thing called the Flyaway contest. And I was like, I don't know what this is. I'm sure I won't win, but it's asking for my email address. I might as well sign up. Maybe it's another newsletter. So I signed up for this thing. Didn't really think too much of it. Well, then a couple months later, I get an email, real inconspicuous. It says, hey, Ethan, you won the Flyaway contest. You know, respond by this date to claim your prize. I was like, this can't be real. Like, nobody actually wins these contests, but sure enough, I won the Flyaway contest. They flew, I think, about 50 fans from all over the country to Las Vegas, including a guy from Las Vegas won a flight to Las Vegas, and I got a pair of tickets. The airfare was covered. My hotel was covered. They had a limo pick us up from the airport. They gave us some spending money. They gave us a ride on the big Ferris wheel thing. It was so unbelievably cool. So Kate was kind of bummed, but I decided to take my dad with me because he's the guy who got me into Weird Al. And so I brought my dad, and we just had a blast going to Las Vegas. And of course, included with the tickets, we got to do the VIP party. And this was really cool because it was my first time ever doing the mandatory World Tour VIP party. So it was before the show. We got to do all the fun activities. And of course, I met JW, who was the host, and he was wearing, you know, his full Army General regalia. So I got a picture with him, and, you know, the show went on. You know, you saw the same show I did. Got to meet Al, yada, yada. Years later, I've talked about this in the podcast before, but I got to do marketing for when Weird Al came on the second leg of the Mandatory World Tour when he came to Proctor's. And I also handled some VIP stuff in my role at Proctor's. So who do I get an email from to set up the VIP party but JW? So I'm going back and forth with JW in a professional capacity, you know, making sure we have a space and things are set up. And I said, you know, I think I've met you before. So I emailed him the picture I took with him at Planet Hollywood. I was like, we met before. It was really funny. So that was really cool getting to send that to JW in the future.
That's an incredible story that, you know, just randomly enter this contest and you get like this full paid all expense, you know, trip to Las Vegas, and you get to meet Weird Al, and you get, you know, like great seats, and you get to meet JW too. But no, it was
it was unreal, Dave. I honestly, I've never won anything like that prior to that or after that. But of course, if I'm going to win any kind of contest, a Weird Al contest is the one I'm going to want to win. So that was super cool.
That is incredible. Thanks so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah. I'm so glad that we got to hear about your Las Vegas experiences with Al, too.
Yeah, I only wish there was a Weird Al concert going on right now while I'm out here.
Well, there actually is one at Burrito. I meant to tell you. I'm actually heading there right now.
It's okay. It's a residency. I'm sure I will be at many of his shows there.
Lest anyone think that Al is actually going to be at Burrito, that is not actual news. But I do actually have some interesting news, Dave. I don't know if you saw this, but there is going to be a 4-issue comic book crossover series of My Little Pony and Transformers.
Wow, what a weird combination. I mean, I know they're both Hasbro, you know, characters, but
right.
Like that's like just like, okay, My Little Pony and Transformers, like how do those two, you know, get in the same universe?
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I'm really not sure how it's going to relate. You know, giant transforming cars and ponies who are magical, but they're doing it this May. But I can't help but think it's just a comic book series. Maybe it'll turn into a TV show or a movie one day. But do you think that they're going to include both of Al's characters from those shows?
That would be pretty cool because obviously he played Wreck-Gar as one of the Transformers. and then he plays Cheese Sandwich as one of the My Little Ponies. So you could have Wreck-Gar interacting with Cheese Sandwich in this comic book, and Al would be, behind the scenes playing both of those characters. How cool would that be?
I would love. So this is the dream, Dave. They make an actual TV series or special. The Weird Al, Wreck-Gar, and Weird Al Cheese Sandwich have a duet. That would be the coolest thing. Al duetting with himself.
But as Wreck-Gar and Cheese Sandwich.
Right, of course.
I think we need to somehow make that happen.
Let's start a petition right now, Dave. You need to drop what you're doing, and you got to come back to the East Coast so we can get this petition started.
What a great idea. I will be on the next reasonably priced flight out of here.
As soon as the check clears, of course. Dave, also wanted to mention some news that will leave you speechless. Right. Yeah. So, you know how we both went to that amazing Red Rock show in Denver, Colorado for the Strings Attached tour last August? Al just released on his YouTube a video of Amish Paradise from that show. Yeah, speechless, right. Did you see that there is a Tiny Tim documentary called Tiny Tim King for a Day, directed by Johan van Sydow? It's going to be hitting the festival circuit soon, and most importantly, Weird Al himself is the narrator. We get it, Dave. You're speechless. Well, anyway, that's all the news I have for this week, but just mere minutes ago, we were talking about My Little Pony, and speaking of, our guest this week actually has quite the connection to the most recent My Little Pony TV series.
Yes, he not only is the composer for My Little Pony, but he is responsible for getting Weird Al onto the show as Cheese Sandwich. He toured with Weird Al in 1985 on the Stupid Tour, and he was the music producer for the Weird Al show. We are so excited to share our interview with Will Anderson. We're really excited. We're on the line here with Will Anderson. He's played on Polka Party Poodle. He's been there from the beginning. He joined the band on the Stupid Tour in 1985. He produced much of the music for the Weird Al show. He's got a resume that's a mile long. Welcome, Will.
Thank you.
We're so excited to talk to you. Ever since we were speaking to Bermuda and he spoke so highly of you and told us about your great involvement with Weird Al and your role in getting Al the cheese sandwich character. It's so many things. We have so many things to discuss. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I forgot about the cheese thing. You're talking about the My Little Pony show, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I worked on that for 10 years. I remember thinking. I remember the director Jason Thiessen. They called him Jason T because there were a couple, and I was talking to him and saying, I used to play in Weird Al's band, and he, My Little Pony has a strange nerd-like crossover audience of people up to 40 years old. And I'd done a couple of conventions, and it felt like a little bit of Al's early audience. So I went to to talk to his manager Jay, and he was playing at the Pacific Amphitheater down in Irvine, and I pitched it to Jay, and then I just let it go, and they ended up hiring him to do a couple of characters, and I think he was in 2 or 3 different episodes. I know it spanned a couple of seasons, and it was fun. I never, of course, when you score a show, you're in post. I get it after everything's locked. And when you do a voice in the show, you do it in pre-production. And so I never got to see Al or go to the records. I was busy on the other end of things. But,
right.
I knew his voice when I heard
it. Of course. That's so amazing. So, I mean, before we get into the Al stuff, how did you get involved with My Little Pony?
Well, I've done a lot of animation over the years, and I did a couple of shows for Linda Steiner when she was over at Warner Brothers, Earthworm Jim and Astro Boy.
So cool.
Wait a minute. I'm mixing up my studios. That was Universal. I did Spider-Man and a Christmas show, A Miser Brothers Christmas. And she always really appreciated the way I handled Mickey Rooney, who voiced the Heat Miser, and he was. I mean, everybody was just steering clear of him, you know. And they asked me, "Will you go into the booth and talk to him?" And I was like fearless. I just went, "Sure." And you know, we got it done. He's a good guy. You know, he's so old school. You know, I mean, he goes back to the Judy Garland musicals and is an amazing guy and a little. I wouldn't say he's difficult, but you know, he's been in the business so long. He has his way of doing things. And that was fun. Anyway, Linda really appreciated the way I handled the session and the score and the songs. And then she moved to what was then the Hub Network, which was something Hasbro was starting. And one of the first shows was going to be a My Little Pony reboot of the franchise. And they had 5 or 6 composers blind. It was a short list. Blind submit. You know, we all scored the same minute and a half of animation, and the executives listened to them, not knowing who the composers were, and they picked me out to do the score. I kind of won that competition. I also submitted for the songs, but Daniel Ingram. You know, I mean, honestly, it was the right choice. He wrote so many wonderful songs for the show throughout the course of it, and their way we went. None of us thought it would go to, you know, spend 10 years and working on the show and do 9 seasons and 4 or 5 different films. It's in 180 countries. You know, it turned out pretty good. We just finished we just finished last June.
Wow.
So. Yeah, that's how I got into that.
Yeah, I mean, I've never personally been a fan of My Little Pony. It's never something I followed. And then when Al started doing the voices and they had the character, I started buying the Weird Al merchandise of him as the pony, and it was so funny to add that to my collection. Something I never thought I would have for my Weird Al collection is My Little Pony figures. I mean, you must not have ever expected to go into something like that when you were getting started with the band Nipper.
Honestly, this is the first I've heard of the My Little Pony Weird Al characters to sell. I didn't even know they make them, but I've always been just a guy in the trenches, and so I'm not surprised.
So, Will, can you tell us a little bit about how you first discovered Weird Al, how you first kind of met him?
Yeah, it was a good story. It was Bermuda, and we were in a new wave band called Nipper, and we were rehearsing at Uncle Studios, I believe it was called, in Los Angeles, and playing all the, you know, Club 88 and Madame Wong's East and West and Club, you know, Hollywood and the Coconut Teaser, all those same clubs that, you know, Motley Crue and Van Halen and everybody played, punk bands like X and Germs, and we never got real successful. But I remember Bermuda coming to rehearsal and saying, I played with a guy named Weird Al Yankovic on the Dr. Domino show last night, and he's going to be a star. And then he said how they kind of improv'd Another One Rides the Bus, and Bermuda just played on the accordion case, and Al did his thing on the, that's what he used for drums, and Al, you know, used his, you know, played accordion and sang. And I think Dr. Domino ended up pressing that and ended up selling a lot of records, or, you know, for a small market. And they went forth from there. Our band ended up breaking up, and Bermuda went over to Al. I mean, he's the original member of that band.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Jim and Jay came out from Florida and joined, and that's the core band, always was the core band, and they moved through a couple of keyboard players before Ruben ended up anchoring the chair for, I mean, he used to be the new guy, and the new guy's now been in the band something like 20 years or something, so, yeah. We played the Carson show. I remember doing the Johnny Carson show with them. I was intimidated because they brought out all the brass players in Doc Severson's orchestra to stand behind me and back me up on the horn charts, and it was like, God, these guys are really good. I think I made some clams in that performance too. I think I missed a note or something. I was a little rattled.
So you're primarily, when you've played with Al, you're playing saxophone, trumpet, harmonica. Is that typically what you play?
Yeah, and guitar. I play guitar like on Eat It. Jim West always taught me. I was a reasonably good guitar player, still am, and he would teach me the. Because somebody has to hold on that da 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 groove on Eat It all the way through, and he needs to do a lot of other stuff. So yeah,
Wow. So when was the first time that you actually sat down and recorded with Al? What album was that?
it was the very first record. I don't have a long recording history with him, but I remember taking my alto sax, and I forget the name of the song, and I've got the record somewhere, and he wanted a sax solo on it, and I was goofing around trying to find something, and he wasn't really hearing it, and so it was amazing. He came out, and we ripped up a shopping bag, and he wrote out the solo he was hearing in his brain in concert pitch on the shopping bag, and I could read in concert, even though the alto is an E-flat instrument. I could read it in concert pitch, and that was pretty much it. I mean, I sight read that solo, then got comfortable with it, and that's what ended up being on the record.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm wondering, was the song Buckingham Blues?
Oh yeah, I played harmonica on that, didn't I? No, or was that the one I did the saxophone? See, I don't remember. It's been a long time. But I remember some years later he called me in to do some harmonica on that Dylan song he did with the, what do you call it when it's the same, a paloderm. It was all a big paloderm.
Yeah, Bob.
Yes, Bob, yes.
That song is amazing.
All of, so many songs.
And you also played on some tracks, at least on Polka Party. Do you remember what those were?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait. It was, I kind of remember. It was the polka medley, doing some of the brass work.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Yeah, the Polka Party song. Yeah, great. But you were out on tour with the band in 1985 for the Stupid Tour. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like?
Sure. It was, I know, a long, arduous tour. I think it was his first really big tour. We played, Bermuda's so good at this. He goes, we did 84 dates in the summer. And he is such an archivist.
Yeah.
He's really remarkable. He still has everything. He sent me the still photos from our Nipper days the other day. I found all the 35 negs. I mean, he's got everything. But yeah, we played, it was the Dare to Be Stupid tour. We played 84 dates, some of them with 10,000 people there. And, it was the first kind of tour where we had some props and films, that still are the hallmark of his shows, like all the little clips that Al TV from the MTV days and those interviews that are kind of, edited together and funny. He's always done that. It makes time for a costume change, and he has just gone on and on. I talk to people about him, and if they remember him, they don't remember. Some people don't even think he's doing anything anymore. And I go, no, it's like every album goes platinum, and his audience gets bigger and bigger, like Jimmy Buffett. I mean, the generations of devoted fans.
Yeah, it's so true. So on the Stupid Tour, were you playing the brass? Like, what instruments were you playing?
Yeah, I was playing sax, trumpet, harmonica, guitar, and I don't remember if I did any keyboard bits. If I did, they were minimal. A little bit of singing. But I was kind of a utility man, just filling in all those, like I Want a New Drug, that by the Huey Lewis thing we did. I played the sax riff, and I played the trumpet on the polka melody, and guitar on Eat It, and harmonica. There was a song on harmonica. I don't remember what it was, but we didn't do it very long. Just he dropped it from the set. Those were the big kind of the popular numbers I played on, and then I did stuff on other songs that I don't remember.
What was the transition to working on the Weird Al show?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was a lot of fun. I had already been scoring. Uh, and then Al got his show on CBS. And I don't know how by that time I was out of the band, but I was doing scoring. And I don't know how the great opportunity to work on that show fell into my lap, but it was so much fun. And I wrote a whole lot of different styles of music for it, and including the bumpers and ins and outs for the show. And Al wrote the theme, and I thought it was terrific. And I was sorry that we got the axe after one. I think it ran for one season, and that was it. But it's still running somewhere.
Oh yeah,
It's still available on DVD.
I know, like on my royalty statements, every once in a while I get something from the Weird Al show, and it's like 2 cents, and I highlight it, and I send it to Al, and I go, Al, I'm still raking it in now.
Oh, I love that.
I'm not kidding, 2 cents.
Wow.
Wow. And there were a lot of skits and stuff in the Weird Al show. Were you involved in all those little skits and that as well?
No. I mean, I get it in post,
Oh, okay.
Everything's done, and Al is the creator. I mean, and he would give me specific musical direction, like this needs to be really jaunty. And most of the stuff I did would get approved, and sometimes there'd be a rewrite. But I think he was really happy with it. He would say, "How do you do that?" It really is a different aesthetic. Than writing songs. It's a different aesthetic than writing songs. It's making things work under dialogue and picture, and you're really another cast member or supporting role, and you really need to approach it like that. You're not the star of the show. You're helping tell the story.
Right. Were there ever any discussions of putting out a score or any kind of release of the songs from that show?
None that I know of.
Well, that's too bad. I would love to get to listen to those and revisit those songs.
The only studio that contacted me about doing that was Universal wanted to release all the music I wrote for Astro Boy. And I don't know why at the time I said, to me it was just too much trouble, and I was on another series, and library music being licensed for other shows wasn't really doing a big deal of business at that time, and I, not my best career move, just said, you know what, I don't remember what I said. I declined the opportunity politely, and I should go back to them and say, hey, you guys still own this, and it might be.
Yeah.
I was kidding. Tell them, 15 years later that, no, I meant yes.
I wanted to ask you, Will, about your Emmy nomination. You got a nomination for Outstanding Sound Editing, Live Action, and Animation for Coconut Fred's Fruit Salad Island.
Yes, it's true. I've never been nominated for a lot of awards. I've won some other ones, and I think it's partly to do with my lack of motivation and hustle. A lot of people go out there and hustle and talk to the studios and let's get this nominated and let's push. I was raising 2 children and barely able to get through my weekly shows, so I never spent a lot of time politicking, and I was surprised that I was nominated because I had nothing to do with it. And actually, there was no music editing in this show. I scored every single episode. And so I really don't know where that came from or what it's about. I do know this, the show, when I wrote the theme for it, and this has happened to me more than once, they listened to all the submission themes, and mine was so much better and original than everybody else that the story editor made it a point to meet me. He goes, I just wanted to find you and meet you and tell you that your thing was so much better and original than everybody else's. There was no question in the room that you were the guy for the show.
Wow.
Yeah, nice of him to say that, and he meant it. He wasn't kidding. The show went nowhere, and Pat Paulson, he's a famous voiceover talent. Like, he did almost all the Animaniacs show, and
wow.
He's a star in this business. And I I read an interview with him once, and he said the one show he regretted doing in his whole career was Coconut Fudge Fruit Salad Island. Yeah, so it gives you an idea
Right.
about the impact on the world we had.
But it's Emmy nominated. That's so cool.
Yeah, but still, I sometimes wonder if I should even put that in my bio. But I go, you know what? It's good. It's true.
It's true.
Let's just keep it in there. It's actually true.
Why not?
Good for you guys for fact. Yeah, you fact checked it. Great for you.
Now, you've worked with, obviously, Al, you've worked with these shows, but I see this list of celebrities that you've worked with. And the first one that catches my eye is Jack Black. I mean, obviously, as a fan of comedy music, I'm a huge Jack Black fan. Tenacious D, Mr. Show, everything he's worked on. What was the circumstance of working with Jack Black?
You know what? I only talked to him a couple times, and what I did is I did the Kids' Choice Awards for about 6 years in a row.
Wow.
And there would always... Yeah, and those were always fun to work on. Bob Bain Productions, and they hired me year after year. I went a couple of times. They used to do it at the UCLA Poly Pavilion, and I scored all the skits, all the live stuff, and produced these songs for the talent to sing. And the one I did for Jack Black was Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting by Elton John.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, and so I did a sound-alike, but I knew from listening to his voice as the music director for the show that it was the key was too high, and I wanted to lower the key, and called him to talk to him about it. I go, you'd kill it, just a step down, and he just, he said no, leave it in the original key, and to my humble ears, it made his high energy performance, because he was running around the whole time.
Yeah.
Suffer. He couldn't hit those notes. Elton John, he has especially in the days back in the 70s when he recorded that. Those notes are up there for any tenor singer. I feel all these years later he missed out by not taking my advice. But I guess he's done pretty well, so he can live without it.
Right. I mean, and so going through some of the other names you have listed: Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, Al Pacino, Nicolas Cage, Jim Carrey. What were some of your favorite experiences working with these, different talent?
Yeah, I forget. I did a song for Jim Carrey when he was on the main guy on the Kids' Choice Awards. I don't remember what that was. Some of those other people. They were getting. I also scored the America Cinematheque Awards, and they would be honoring Nick Cage or there's some other ones, Nicole Kidman, some of the other ones you mentioned, and I would always write their awards themes, as they went up to the podium to get the award and be celebrated, and so I would work with them on the style they wanted, and we go back and forth, and then usually it's something kind of grand and noble,
right?
And those are the artists I worked with on those. Who were they again? I can't remember which ones were. I know Nick Cage and Nicole Kidman,
Tom Cruise, Al Pacino.
Tom Cruise. No, that was a song. That was a song, and I don't remember what it was, but that was definitely Kids' Choice Awards, because I remember him getting slimed at the end of the show. They slime them all, right? That's
of course.
Part of the deal.
Now I'm looking through your resume as well, and I'm seeing a couple little things that you did with Bermuda and Jim West, such as, well, one of them was this remake of Biker Mice from Mars, a punk rock opera. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Biker Mice from Mars was my first big animated hit, and we did the opera and reboot of the series many years later. The first 65 we did were the best ones. I was just getting into animation, and actually a guy I know, and he was a producer, but I'm gonna leave him nameless for now because he's on a political talk show now, and I don't want. Anyway, he said that he was smoking some pot and just trying to come up with an idea as cool as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I had just done some, toy ads for Mattel, and he heard of me, and so I wrote a theme on spec, no charge. And
Yep.
he called me. I just sent it to him, and he called me. He goes, "Man, I've listened to this 27 times, and you absolutely nailed what I'm thinking about."
Wow.
And they made a test piece out of it, and New World bought it, and it became a big hit. My friends on the road said the most constant thing out here. This was about the same time CNN went big. He goes, the most constant thing on all around the world is Biker Mice from Mars and CNN. It's in every country we go to. So
I love that.
the rock opera was kind of. I feel like it was a failure. I don't know that the story was very strong, and I didn't have enough time to produce the vocals. Budgets are tough in animation, and it got tagged on the end of the voice record, and I remember just having to get first takes on almost all the songs, and I don't know how it ever did. I don't think I ever watched it because I felt it was a disappointment for me. And I actually don't watch a lot of my shows. I actually hardly watch any of my shows. Once I get done with them, I'm done with them and I move on. Except to see what's working or not working. Once I feel like something is, because I see them a million times when I'm working on them. When I'm writing, I have the picture going constantly,
Right.
and I have the dialogue in constantly because I'm part of that. And as soon as I learned early on, you shut off the dialogue or the picture, you start writing some great piece of music. And then you turn the dialogue and picture back on, and it's just too big and busy, and it's competing for the main stage. And so I learned to always write with the dialogue and picture on, and that's how I do it. And after it takes a long time. It used to be 2 weeks, and then post collapsed to a week, and it's still like you watch it 50 times, and you don't need. It's like I don't want to see it again.
Right.
Honestly.
I totally understand that.
Yeah, and there's another piece here too that you also worked with Jim West, Bermuda Schwartz, and another name that would be familiar to Al fans, Larry Antonino, on the Miss America pageant as well.
Yeah, Larry, the bass player, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, no, God, he's a great player. And I had a lot of great horn players on that. Tom Evans, who's now with the Eagles, and a lot of the other guys. And, we nailed that chart. And it's not because of me. I mean, it was on the page, and those guys just played the heck out of it. And it's a swinging tune. Trying to remember who was on the drums. I think it was Joel Taylor, who's another just monster. He sight read the chart. I remember, because drummers will sight read the brass charts when there's no drum chart. And I said, there's no drum chart. And he goes, well, give me the brass chart. He's looking at it 5 seconds, and he goes, there's a mistake in bar 10. I mean, this is a drummer. Drummers usually can't read music, He's remarkable. He's always playing all over the world with the heavies, like the guys from Weather Report and Chick Corea, and I mean, he's just so good. The same kind of big band sound I did for the Dick Cavett show. I redid I had to do the theme and the outro because they didn't have they were lost actually. They recorded the original Dick Cavett shows live, and the band just played live, and so all the versions they had of it had coughing, and they weren't clean, and so they needed clean front and back versions, and man, you could tell. I mean, those guys, I mean, same thing at the Carson show. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but there was a bar set up behind the stage at the Carson show, and the guys in the band, I mean, they were just, getting hammered, and everybody was hammered, really. And you could tell, I mean, one of the guys said it, that when we were tracking the outro for the Dick Cavett show was a kind of a slow, boozy blues. And finally, one of the horn players goes, man, those guys are sauced. I can tell, It was loose, the groove was loose and boozy. So, no offense, guys, if you're listening to this.
I want to go back a little bit to when you recorded with Al in the studio. What was it like recording with Al in the studio on the couple tracks that you were on?
Well, like I told you, he knows exactly what he wants and what he's doing. And at first, he had his own producer. I think Rick Narringer produced for a little while, but
Yep.
Right.
really, he produces the records now. By the time I got back to do that Dylan song with him, I mean, he is. He just grew from there. He's always been a stickler for detail, and he is even more so now. He just wants to get everything exactly right, exactly the way he hears it, and every detail of the sound alikes that he does right, and the parodies that he does have to be even more exact. I remember they were doing a Taylor Swift parody. I don't remember the name of it. But Jim, do you know Jim West is Chemo sometimes?
Yes.
Yeah, I call him Chemo Son. Anyway, but yeah, James West came, we were hanging out for lunch and he goes, God, there were 6 or 7 guitar tracks I had to do, all of them exactly right. It was like it took him, I don't know, a whole day. All those guys in the band have become such virtuosos of every single style.
Yes.
So yeah, recording with him was easy. Recording with Al, I think I trailed away, but he's like many producers knows exactly what he wants, and he's not a drama guy, and he's fun to hang around, but he's also let's get this done. I think he's a little less weird and a little bit more like, all right, guys, here's what we're doing next in the studio.
I would love to go back to Nipper, and I would love to know how you and Bermuda actually first met, and how did you come to form a band together?
I don't remember, but he ended up, I guess, auditioning. He's always playing with bands and still in Los Angeles, and he was always like, he was always a big trooper for our band too. He had our logo stenciled on his bass drum and on his car, his Volvo, and was always helping with the promotion and helped produce the record and did the artwork for it. And actually, the same thing once he got going with Al, he brought in his brother, Richard. Do you remember his last name, his brother's name?
Yeah, Richard Bennett.
Yeah. He came out to see a couple of our shows. I remember he liked my sax playing. That guy's good. Berm brought him in to produce the demos with which they went on to get a record deal. And, Richard Bennett is a guy who was, really successful in Nashville and with Neil Diamond's band forever, and just has done so many things. So I don't remember how we ran ads in the Recycler like every other band, and auditioned several drummers, and he ended up in the band, and he's just really astute and professional and good.
That's so great. So what are you working on now? What are the next things that we can look for you on?
I'm taking some time off for the first time in 30 years. When I finished season 9 of My Little Pony, June 20th of last year, I was ready to come back to Los Angeles and just chill out. So I'm writing some stuff. It's just personal stuff. I don't really have any inclination to go try and sell it because I don't want the pressure of selling it to affect my creative process. It's just stuff I'm doing for me. And I'm going to the gym and working out and staying healthy and hanging out with my girlfriend, and we're living together in sin, and it's a good life, and that's all I'm looking for right now.
Oh, that sounds great. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for taking us down memory lane and telling us all these. Just such an amazing career that you've had. You certainly have earned taking some time off.
For sure.
Yeah, I deserve my time off, totally. I never thought that, but I've been at war so long that I feel like now I'm with a soldier and a gun going, okay, where's my victory parade? Didn't we win? What do we do now? Honestly, I'm so used to being on just an impossible schedule for so many years, and a lot of those raising my kids and doing carpool at the same time. that it took me 2 or 3 months just to learn how to sleep in and have a cup of coffee with my girlfriend in the morning.
Wow.
But, thank you for interviewing me and for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be remembered for my small role in Al's band, and I really value my friendship with him and all the guys in the band, and it's been tremendous watching their success decade after decade. Wonderful bunch of guys, and Al's just a terrific artist. And I will leave it at that.
Well, thank you so much. For more information, we can follow you online. You've got a website, andersonscores.com. You've got all your credits and discography and everything on there. And, whatever you do end up doing, releasing that personal stuff or working on more shows, we look forward to seeing what's next.
Yeah, thanks so much for your interest. And if I do pop into something interesting, I'll definitely let you guys know. And, there could be something.
Huge thank you to Will Anderson. It sounds like he's going to take some well-deserved time off until, of course, Dave, it's time to make the My Little Pony Transformers cartoon.
I definitely hope if they do make that My Little Pony Transformers crossover that they do invite Will Anderson to do the score for it.
That would be so awesome. We want to remind everybody that we still do have just a couple of those beautiful screen print posters available from our Jonah Ray UHF event. They were, of course, designed by the great Jeff McClelland and Andrea Schiavone. And if you are interested in those, as well as sticker packs and anything else like that, just get in touch with myself, get in touch with Dave, get in touch with Frank, and we'll be happy to set you up with one of those.
And don't forget, you can check out our brand new official Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast merchandise shop. It is over at shop.2000inch.com, and there are so many awesome items on there. Ethan, what was your favorite item that we had in there?
I really love the shirt of us and Jonah Ray, but now I'm really also digging the Gill and Chill coffee mug.
I feel like that is like the perfect accessory for any, evening of sitting at home watching Gilligan's Island, just drinking, your favorite beverage, maybe a Yankarita, out of your Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast Gill and Chill coffee mug with the person you want to chill with.
That's right. And Gill with. So you can check that out. We also have a Gill and Chill tote bag, some other tote bags, pillows, shirts. We have tank tops. Head over to shop.2000inch.com. And of course, we're always working on adding new designs, new stuff. And we're even working on adding fresh, delicious, vegan insurance options to the shop.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast is brought to you in part by the Don Ferlazzo Allstate Agency in Clifton Park, New York. If you drive like crazy or about to buy you a condo, Don Ferlazzo and his team can help you with crazy good auto, home, and renter's insurance. Plus, the Ferlazzo Agency can protect all of your favorite stuff, like your Transformers Wreck-Gar action figure or your cheese sandwich plushie.
You may think your insurance is good enough for now, but don't wait one more minute. Find the Ferlazzo Allstate on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram and give them a call at 518-278-3543 for a free quote today. The Ferlazzo Agency. We sell insurance, and that's all.
Now, you too can become a sponsor of this podcast. We have great sponsorship opportunities over at patreon.com/2000inch. Head over there. You can see all the amazing ways you can support the podcast, including sponsorship.
Big thank you to all of our listeners, subscribers, everyone who follows us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at 2000inch, and of course, those who have joined our Facebook group. But our number one thanks goes out to our amazing Patreon supporters. You can join the Patreon family by heading over to patreon.com/2000inch.
And you can find us online at 2000inch.com, and make sure you share all of our posts, tell all of your friends about the podcast, and at any time you can leave us a message at 347 Spatula, our official Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast hotline. It is open 27 hours a day. Feel free to call anytime.
All right, Dave. Well, thanks for taking time out of your well-deserved vacation to join us for the podcast.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I will be back again in New Jersey next week. And Ethan, I expect that my solid gold throne will be properly polished and shiny when I get there. And there will be a Yankerita waiting for me when I arrive.
You hear that, Frank?
That was Dave and Ethan's 2008 Weird Al podcast, episode 42 in.
Da 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 da.